me, because if you're a contender, you want to make sure you get pushed off. It's a very important part of this race. And right now, Tony Hunt on the point, and we'll see if he's quick enough to stay there. Remember, he still does have to make a pit stop at some point, but his hope is that he can pull away. Well, these guys got a full fuel load, and he's light. He can get far enough in front so that if he pulls back out after his pit stop, he won't lose as much ground.
But he also needs a yellow to make that pit stop.
Well, yeah, he'll have to wait for a yellow. He can't do it under green, or it's a big mistake.
But Eric's not that far behind him right now, so he's not going to pull away.
Now, Eric Gordon,
even with the heavier fuel load that Eric has.
Well,
only, what, 1, 2, 3 cars between first and second?
Just the fact that Eric Gordon is as fast as he's been all night is going to make it very difficult for Tony Hunt. Eric Gordon has just been so quick and so smooth and so good in traffic.
So what you're saying is second place here is first in class when you're racing against Eric Gordon and Anderson.
Exactly. He's really got this place figured out. Jack French knows how to set the race car up. And right there again, you can see him smoking the brakes.
Eric was lucky not to get into somebody.
Yeah, he's smoking the brakes. But he anticipated again. If he had gotten in there a little too far and gotten on the brakes, he might have got clipped and might have got a flat tire or something bent in the suspension.
Well, Matt Neely in that silver number 6 is right in front of second place Eric Gordon.
Gordon just biding his time right now.
He's in no hurry because he knows the leader has to make a pit stop.
Right. He knows exactly where he is in relation to everybody else.
Levi Jones is the other car that's the lap car between first and second. So Levi Jones. There's Eric. Eric has gotten around Neely. So now one lap car between first and second.
And Levi Jones, quite honestly, is not running that slow. He's running at a pretty good pace out on the racetrack. But it's just that Eric Gordon is running so much quicker than everybody else. He makes those other guys look slow.
Tony Hunt was the 2001 and 2004 Western Sprint Car champion. So no slouch in the cockpit of a sprint car. And he finished third in this race last year. He leads this one now, but he still has a pit stop to make. And there goes Gordon to the high side. And now there's nobody between first and second.
And once he gets to the outside, and he makes those guys kind of pinch the car coming off the corner, he just blows on by them, because when they can't keep up their straightaway speed by letting that car drift out to the wall, it really slows them down.
So let's see how many laps it takes for Gordon to get by Hunt for the top spot again.
Well, Tony Hunt doing a nice show. It's not going to take long, it doesn't look like, because he stuck his nose in there already. Again, though, he stuck it in there, but he didn't stick it in there far enough to get it cut off. He knew that he didn't want to take the chance of sticking it in there too far and having Tony come down and chop him off. So he stuck it in there to see if it was going to work. It wasn't, so he just waited.
Well, this race pays over $30,000 to win.
And Tony Hunt running in a very kind of a difficult pattern for Eric Gordon to get around him, because he's running high into the corner and then chopping down low coming off the corner. And so if you're going to try to sneak in under him getting in, you better make sure he knows you're there so that he doesn't clip you coming across the racetrack.
Gordon's wife Jamie's had some nice shopping sprees over the last few years with the money, because he'll take about 50% if he pulls this thing off, and the winner's purse is a little over $30,000, so that'll buy some groceries for the year.
Well, it certainly will. And Eric Gordon, you can see him right then. He almost got his right front into the bumper of Tony Hunt. You don't really want to do that, because if you do that, you stand a chance of puncturing your tire.
And here comes Steele. He's right behind.
That's Neely. Right behind. So he's got almost no. Well, you can see the distance.
One car now between second and third, and all three are going to be stacked up nose to tail in a couple laps. But they know that this white number 5 has a pit stop to make.
Whoa.
Oh, he slips that time coming off the corner.
Well, that was where he knew that Steele was coming up. He knew he had to make the pass, so he got the car a little loose. You don't want to do that very often. If you get that
right rear.
Yeah, if you get that right rear heated up, then it's going to slow you down. So he did it only because he knew Steele was coming up on him very quickly, and he had to make that pass. So he went ahead and did something he doesn't do very often, and that's spin that right rear tire.
Steele now goes around the number 5 car, so Hunt drops from the lead to third, but he has that second pit stop to make.
Well, now then we're
Now it's a shootout.
Yeah, we'll see. If Steele can catch Eric Gordon, and if he does catch him, then what's he going to do with him?
But basically, Larry, if you and I were talking before this race, I said, Larry, what's the race going to come down to? You're going to tell me probably Steele and Gordon.
Yeah, because those two guys, again, are the most experienced. They have the best track records. They know how to pace themselves. They know how to be aggressive. They know when to be patient. They know when to stick their nose in there and when not to.
Steele won this race back in '96. As we mentioned, back in 2000, he was leading with 5 laps to go and ran out of fuel.
Well, you know, you have to have all the components. You got to be lucky. You got to be good. You got to be fast. But, you know, a lot of it is just knowing how to play the game. These two guys obviously know how to play the game. You've got to be around at the end. You can't win it if you're not running at the end of 500 laps.
Well, Steele has a move on the inside. The momentum. Can he make the pass? Side by side through 1 and 2, and he has the lead.
Well, that's something you're not going to see very often here, and that's Eric Gordon getting past.
So Steele, at one time, was a lap off the pace. Made it back around, made the pit stop, made it back through traffic, and now takes the lead.
Well, I think Eric Gordon is going to be content to let him lead for a while, but he's going to try to stick with him. He's going to hope that as the fuel goes away, oh, he tries to sneak back down under him right there, and Steele kind of goes to the bottom, and that's Barber. They're going around.
So Barber now the lap car between your top 2. And a caution on the racetrack, as that's Tarleton. Tarleton on lap 389, our 13th, and there goes an errant wheel.
Looks like he might have broken the center out of that wheel and just sent the car into the right front.
Look at all the marbles, Larry. Look at all the little shards of rubber up against the outside. That's why if you get too close, it'll take you right to the fence.
Yeah, well, that wasn't his problem. I think the wheel came off before he ever got up there.
Well, but I'm saying if somebody else gets too high going around, somebody catches that, it's good.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
He's a little wobbly.
Well, he hit that thing pretty hard. Yeah, he's.
I wouldn't let him be walking too
No,
far.
I think they better have him sit down and wait for the ambulance to come.
I think, yeah, that's not such a wise decision.
Wow. Wow, he's yeah, he hit that thing pretty hard. He's a little woozy, so now he says, "Get out of here."
Get out of here. I'm fine. I'm no sissy. I tell you what, he should have been seated up there and not walked across the track. And there is the yellow that he was waiting for. There's Tony Hunt, but the yellow kind of came too late for him.
Yeah, he's going to get his pit stop, but he's probably going to lose at least 1 lap and go maybe a lap down. We'll see when he gets back on the racetrack. But there's Dave Steele leading this race.
And here's how it happened.
He just used that same move that Eric Gordon's been using. I think Eric Gordon heated up the right rear. See how he was sliding right there? I think when he passed for the lead, he got the right rear a little bit hot. And when he did, Tony, I mean, he just wasn't working as well as he had earlier in the race. You could see that when he was coming through that corner, the back end was sliding out. The race car was a little loose. So now that the yellow flag has come out, maybe his car will be working better, and he can go back up there and challenge Dave Steele for the lead.
Well, this yellow light will give him a chance to cool off that right rear. Speaking of a right rear, that one's shot.
Yeah, certainly is. They're going to have to put him on the hook and get him off of there. Shock is completely broken off. They're putting it in the seat of the race car, so they've got him up on the hook, so they'll haul that race car into the infield.
Well, we're approaching the 400 lap mark. And the top 5, Steele, Gordon, Hunt is still 3rd in the pit lane with his pit stop, Cox and Barber.
Yeah, so Barber and Cox hanging on. Cox is doing a nice job. We haven't talked about Tim Cox very much. He's a lap down, but he's run a nice race. It's just that those two guys you're looking at right there are running such a blistering pace. There's just nobody else who can keep up with them.
So restart on lap 400. 100 laps to go.
Well, it doesn't appear that cooler tires help much, as Dave Steele's moved away to a couple of car lengths lead. So right now, Eric Gordon's just got to keep his cool and try to hang on and stay within striking distance of Dave Steele.
Well, look at that gap that's opened up since that restart.
Well,
So
Dave
Gordon
Steele
is not as fast as he was earlier.
No, I'm not sure. He might have hurt that right rear tire a little bit when he was trying to get around Tony Hunt.
We talked about the patience. If that were the case and he lost some patience and slid the rear just a little bit, this could have cost him the race.
You know, it's a difficult thing. You know, you've got to be patient, but you've got to be fast. He knew that Steele was coming up. He wanted to get around and make it harder for Steele to get around him, and he just slipped that tire a little bit. Don't know that that's a problem, but it could just be the fact that Dave Steele's working a little better than he is. And running
well,
faster
whatever
right
the
now.
reason, Larry, Dave is much faster right now than what Eric is.
Yeah, he's pulling away. He's gaining about a car length a lap, and Eric Gordon, if he wants to win this race, is going to have to figure out how to.
And if that right rear is going away, it'll certainly show up when he starts lapping other cars.
Right, he won't be able to use that outside groove near as easily as he has. You can see right there that Steele went right to the outside, didn't even hesitate, went right around.
Well, as you mentioned, Dave Steele has had the opportunities in NASCAR and stock car racing, as well as with the Indy Racing League, but ended up coming back to his roots.
Yeah, and this is the most fun sort of racing. There's no question. This is a lot more fun than NASCAR or Indy.
You said NASCAR had too many politics being played.
Yeah, well, there's too much of everything. Too much pressure, too much politics. As he's putting a lap, trying to put another lap on Tony Hunt. Boy. So he just went around Hunt. So
green car is Butler.
So he's really moving now, but he actually walked away from NASCAR. He didn't like the politics. He didn't like everything that was going on down there, and he just look at this.
The problem here with Tony Hunt, cranks hard to the left and drives to the infield.
Well, a lot of blue smoke coming out of that thing. I got to guess that he had some sort of a problem. He took the steering wheel off, so it doesn't look like a problem they're going to fix.
So he gets off the racetrack, and that will alleviate another yellow. There's Tony Hunt, Fair Oaks, California, former Western State Sprint Car champion. So his race is done. So the guy that finished third last year hoped to move up a couple of positions, but not so tonight.
Yeah, the safety crew standing there ready to extinguish any fire. There wasn't any fire, but looks like his night is done. A tough break for him.
Once again, you see the gap between first and second.
Steele just moving to the outside, just exactly the same as Eric Gordon has done all night long. And look at this, Eric Gordon looks to be gaining on him when he gets into traffic a little bit.
Snyder and Litt, two of the lap cars that they have to negotiate their way around. Another car smoking, a lot of smoke from that red car.
Yeah, that might be
Bennett again.
It looks like Bennett again. He's been smoking quite a bit, pretty much the last 100 laps.
There's Gordon riding in second position. One lap car between first and second. That's Snyder. Goes by the high side down the backstretch. So right now, Larry, this would look to be Dave Steele's race to win.
Well, look at Eric Gordon, though. When they get in lap traffic, Eric Gordon just seems to be a little bit quicker getting through that lap traffic. And, you know, Dave Steele doesn't use that high groove near as easily as Gordon does. Gordon tries to sneak under. Now, this is where you can really get in trouble. Remember, these are the only two guys on the lead lap, and they can take each other out very easily here if one or the other gets impatient.
A lot of traffic out in front of Dave Steele, and he has second place right behind him.
And that oil is very disconcerting when you're leading, because you just don't know how slick he's making the racetrack. He's got to be putting a little oil on the racetrack. Steele wants to get around him as quickly as he can, and Bennett running pretty quick. Just out pulls him down the straightaway.
You'd think he might get black flagged and have that car checked out in the infield.
You would have thought so. Haven't seen the black flag come out yet, though.
So once again, nose to tail on the racetrack. That's Tim Cox in that multicolored car, and right in front of him is the white number 4 of Jason McCord.
And look at Eric
and
Gordon.
Look at Gordon on the inside.
Trying to make that move, couldn't make it stick. Now then he goes to the outside. That's all you can do. When you're trying to get past the guy, you got to go wherever he doesn't. You can't beat him by following him.
Top 5 after 434 laps. The finish is coming up. back to the annual Little 500, the Payless Remy International Little 500 from Anderson Speedway. Gary Lee, Larry Rice, and Dave Argabright over the last final 60 laps of this event. And Dave Steele again out in front.
Well, Dave Steele is proving that, you know, he can run this race, he can win this race, because he right now, even though Eric Gordon has led the most laps in the event, after that last pit stop, he's worked his way back, he's worked his way around Eric Gordon, and right now, his car is just faster as he's pulling away.
And again, it just simply may be a case that we've already talked about, that he's not abused his tires as much as Eric has.
Well, and they're both excellent pavement drivers. There's no question. They're probably two of the best pavement drivers in the country. They know how to do this. They've done it a lot of times. They know this racetrack. They both spend a lot of time on this racetrack over years time, and they've got their race cars figured out. They're both exceptionally smart when it comes to setting up a race car. They know how to do it, and they work on their cars. They know especially how to do it here at Anderson.
You can see the gap, about a half straightaway advantage right now as Gordon rides in second position. There is Eric right there. Eric, a 5-6-time winner of this event. He's won 4 times in a row. He started this race back in the 9th starting position.
Well, he knows right now that his time's running out. If he's going to do anything, he better do it pretty quick. Oh, we got somebody down there smoking very badly on the inside of the racetrack. But he knows right now he's got to get on the move, because there's not very much time left, and Dave Steele is very quick.
Went around lit, and there is Neely. Steele goes to the high side of Neely off the second corner down the backstretch.
And Dave Steele working the traffic very well right now. No problems at all. He just goes inside, outside. Any place he wants to point that race car, it seems to stick.
Winner here in 1996. He's won the pole position on a couple of 3 occasions.
Yeah, and he's right now, we talked about Gordon being on a string. Well, he too is on a string. Actually, he is much better right now than Gordon seems to be. Gordon pressing a little bit, trying to catch him, and you can see that he's pressing. He's sliding a little bit. He slips the tires once in a while, and usually that's not a good thing. You don't want to slip that right rear tire, because it just gets him hotter and makes it go slower.
Now you can see the gap about a half straightaway, but it is an open racetrack between first and second, and now we have some lap cars up in front of your leader.
Well, there's not nearly as many race cars on the racetrack now as there was. I mean, we started out with 33 through attrition and through crashes and whatever. We're down to about 12 or 14 cars on the racetrack right now. So, you know, you don't have near as much traffic.
50 laps to go. We've gone 450 circuits.
Wow.
Levi Jones and the number 4 of Jason McCord holding up the leader right now.
And that's what really costs you a lot of time when you get behind somebody like that.
Top 5 after 450. Steele, Gordon, Cox, Barber, and Snyder, but only the top 2 share the lead lap.
Yeah, those 2 guys on the lead lap, they have been the class of the field all night long.
At what point as a race driver in this race do you start hearing every noise the race car's making?
Well, you know, when you're getting this close to the end, you're starting to think about that a little bit, especially when you're a guy like Steele, who's been out front. He's had problems near the end of the race before. So, you know, you don't want to think about it. You just want to think about driving. But once in a while, you do start thinking, geez, this has been a long race. I hope she just makes her another 50 laps.
Well, we talked earlier about Dave leading this thing in 2000 and running out of fuel with 5 laps to go. Steele now again with a lot of traffic in front of him.
And you're also thinking, I don't want to make a mistake now. You know, I made it 450 laps. You know, I can't afford to screw up now. I can't.
You think even as veteran as these guys are, they're talking to themselves?
Oh, you always talk to yourself. I don't care how much of a veteran you are. You're always telling yourself, do this right. You know, make sure you're perfect. Make sure you do this right. And right now, Eric Gordon looks like that little extra effort he's putting forth is helping him as he's gaining a little bit.
Well, he gets around Snyder, and he does close in just a bit on Steele.
He's pressing. You can see that car slide a little bit in that corner. He's pressing.
He's working harder now than he's worked any time this race.
He's not in a holding pattern. He's not just coast along and finish this race. He's going to go after him right now. He's going to do everything he can do to put the pressure on Dave Steele. Dave Steele right now he can still not press himself, but he knows he's got to run some pretty fast laps.
He has to be consistent and maintain that rhythm, but he has some traffic out in front.
Well, and
as you indicated, there's not as much traffic.
There's some smoke come out of the back of the
problem
car.
with Dave Steele, your leader, is off the pace. Dave Steele is off the pace with what, a drivetrain problem, an engine problem? Oh my. With less than 40 laps to go, he heads for the pit area.
We talked about luck, and he is not happy. We talked about how luck plays such an important part, and here again is a case where luck, bad luck, struck Dave Steele. And obviously it's a terminal problem. He's got his helmet off. He's out of the car. What a terrible, terrible break. And that's why it's unbelievable to think that this man could win, what, his 5th in a row?
This would be 5th in a row if he pulls this thing off.
How could that, I mean, it's just unthinkable that you could go for that long. And here you can see the smoke come out of it right there. He knew right away he's a problem. He just moved down to the inside of the racetrack. Smoke's coming out of that thing,
we talked
whatever
about
it was.
drivers talking to themselves. He was talking to himself and the car right there.
Yeah, he was not calling it nice names either, let me tell you.
He pulls the earplugs out. So second place at the time, Eric Gordon inherits the lead, and this would be his 5th straight victory, his 7th overall.
Well, and he knows that he's got a huge lead. He leads by 5 laps over the second place, so there's no, you know, he doesn't have to take any chances. He doesn't have to do anything silly. You're talking about talking to yourself. Right now is when Eric Gordon.
Be patient, slow down.
Yep. Just take it easy. All you got to do is make it to the end. You're not going to lose this. You know, you don't have to win this race, but you could sure lose it if you do something stupid.
Tim Cox right in front of him right now. He's going to be very, very, very ginger on the throttle. Gingerly off the corner. Goes around Neely, taking no chances.
Yeah, Tim Cox is in second place, several laps down, so he knows that he doesn't, you know, he knows that. They're telling him that, so he's just being very careful, very patient. Now, the thing you don't want to do is sometimes if you slow down too much, if you get out of your rhythm too much, it can mess you up worse than trying to go out there and.
But it's not going to mess you up 5 laps worth.
Well, it can't mess
really
you up that
take it
much.
easy.
Yeah. But it can get you out of your rhythm. You can lose your concentration. That's what I'm saying. It wouldn't take you out of your rhythm so much, but you don't want to get
but
out.
He can ride right there the rest of this race.
That's right. He can do that, but there's a danger in that too. What if the guy in front of you makes a mistake? So
right there, he's leading by 5 laps.
Right there, he's, you know, and he almost ran into the back of him, Tim Cox right there. So, you know, it's a bad situation because you don't want to make any stupid mistakes. And like I said, you're telling yourself, you know, you can lose it. You can't, you know, you've already got a 1. The only thing you can do now is make a mistake and lose it.
So is Tim going to let him go on by? Squeezes the throttle into turn 3. Noses ahead. That put him up by, what, 6 laps?
Yeah, there's Barber and there's Shauna Hoke down on the bottom of the racetrack. So, you know, he's in a great position. Nobody can outrun him. All he's got to hope for now is that he doesn't have the same kind of bad luck that Dave Steele had just a few laps ago.
Cox in second, Barber's third.
And there is Cox. He's shown 5 laps down. I guess we were wrong. He must not be 6 laps down. But either way, too many laps.
5 laps. Yeah, well.
Too many laps for him to catch up. All he can do is, I mean, he's hoping maybe something does happen. That's the only way he can win the race.
You see there, 20 laps to go. He pulls up behind Barber, who is in 3rd position. Try to put Barber another lap down.
So, you know, the only thing that's going to stop Eric Gordon right now is bad luck or bad judgment. He can control the bad judgment. He can't control the bad luck.
This will be the longest 18 laps of the race for him right here, and he's got some open racetrack in front of him.
Well, with that open racetrack, it becomes easier because now then you don't have to rely on somebody else making a mistake. When you've got open racetrack like that, you're pretty much in control. You know you're not going to do anything silly. And when you're following somebody, they could do something stupid or they could blow an engine. I mean, multiple things could happen and take you out of the race. So he's very happy to have a lot of racetrack, a lot of clear space in front of him right now. But He's just on cruise control, counting the laps and crossing his fingers that nothing bad happens, because he's already seen it happen to Dave Steele. You know, anything can happen in this business.
Second, third place. That's third. Barber, the red, yellow 14 Cox in the multicolored rainbow car, is in second. And out in front with at least a 5-lap cushion. Sometimes it's very difficult at this stage to know what the gap is between first and second, but it's a big one.
Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. All he's got to do is finish out the laps and make sure that nothing happens. And like I said, he's in control. He just doesn't want to make a mistake. He wants to make sure that nobody in front of him makes a mistake that costs him the race.
Shane Butler goes another lap down in that green and blue car.
He makes it look so easy cruising along now that there's only about 12 cars left on the racetrack. You know, not near as much traffic to deal with as we have 10 laps to go.
Snyder again on the low side, very careful on the high side as he squeezes that throttle into turn 3. Off the fourth corner, now 9 laps to go. Can you believe this? He could possibly pull off 5 in a row. Can you imagine just winning one of these things? He's 9 laps away from 5 in a row.
Well, if you take a look, for instance, at Mario Andretti, who had a chance to win how many Indianapolis 500s, yet only won one in his whole career.
Well, had it been the Indianapolis 4